Hey VC, it's Big Star 1000 with yet another installment of the series Gimme Ten. After focusing on CTI and ECM, I will continue my journey through the labels and talk about 10 great records from the legendary label Impulse. Impulse holds a near mythical status amongst vinyl collectors, especially those of us in the VC who love jazz. And the house that Trane built is the nickname of Impulse. It was a label started in 1960 by Creed Taylor. Spoke about Creed Taylor in the CTI video because he went on to form CTI. And he only stayed for a year or so, and in '61 it was taken over by Bob Thiele, who really gave Impulse its really defined sort of style. And then in 1969 it was again taken over by another guy whose name escapes me right now, but the key recordings of Impulse are between 61 and 69, the Thiele era, and the very first records that Bob Thiele put out, I think, was the Trane live at the Village Vanguard. So the house that Trane built, because Coltrane, John and Alice, their record was so prominent in the catalogue and sold so many units that really basically financed the whole operation. But enough talk. You want to see records now. This week, this Gimme 10. Again, it's not a top 10. Just please don't think it's a top 10. It's just my own take on some essentials in the Impulse catalogue. I haven't heard every record on Impulse. I'm not going to pretend I have. But I can pretty much guarantee that the records that I'm going to show you are, to be found in every series collection. Maybe bar one or two of them. But, you may disagree. If you do, leave a comment. We're going to start now. Right, so I'm going to start off with, in my opinion, the most essential title on the Impulse catalogue. I'm talking about Love Supreme by the master himself, John Coltrane. To me, the definition of the term spiritual jazz, an absolute and complete journey dedicated to God, basically, and for stupendous players, really transcending the sort of frontiers of jazz itself. McCoy Tyner, Jimmy Garrison, the master himself, John Coltrane, and Elvin Jones on drums. This is second pressing, I think. I love the Impulse design. Just want to say a couple of words because Impulse is really all about the visuals as well. The photographs, how this photo is just absolutely amazing and just really just seals the deal. If you see this record, you just want to have it. Yeah, the aesthetics and the labels I've been covering so far, CTI and ECM, have an aesthetic to them, and I will continue with labels that follow an aesthetic because I think that it's a lot more interesting than just pulling records from a label where there's no sort of thread. With Impulse, it's definitely a thread. 1965, if you don't have a Love Supreme, you need to do something about it now. Can't talk about John without talking about the misses. And to me, the most amazing record that she's put out, despite it all, at the moment I'm actually listening to Ptah El Daoud, which is very close to this in quality. But in my opinion, the one that I come back to the most, that I keep returning to, is The Mighty Journey in Satchidananda. And if Love Supreme is a definition of spiritual jazz, this is just as much of a definition of spiritual jazz as Love Supreme. She's just an amazing harp and piano player. Lineup is fantastic. Alice Coltrane, Ferry Sanders. I'll talk about Ferry Sanders. Cecil McBee, Charlie Hayden, Rashid Ali. I mean, this is just an insane record. If you know it, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know it, look it up. And it's from 1960, 1970. Yeah, fantastic. Here's a record that I scored fairly recently. Not easy to get these days, but an absolute masterpiece once more. I know I've said that a lot, but just take my word for it. The Ahmad Jamal Trio, The Awakening. Ahmad Jamal is a pianist. On this he plays acoustic piano in a trio version. It is an absolute tour de force of post-bop jazz, and the whole thing is just smoking. 1970. This was sampled by Nas, I think, on Illmatic a little bit. I don't know. It's not a gauge of quality, but just a little bit of side info. This is, to me, one of the best records I bought this year. Without question, one of the best records I bought this year. It was not cheap, but it's well worth it if you can find it. The Awakening by Ahmad Jamal, just right before his electric Fender Rhodes period, which is also cool. Another great spiritual jazz piece is this Michael White's The Land of Spirit and Light, with its very untypical sort of impulse sleeve. You know, it's not the sort of sleeve that you find on, it's very different from everything else. This is a 70s recording, 1973, so it's the kind of post sort of classic impulse, but nonetheless, Michael White, electric violin player, was in the fourth way, and this is just an incredibly deep record. It's deep, that's what I can say. As against Cecil McBee on bass, and I personally believe that everything Cecil McBee touches turns to gold. Most of the records that I've heard him play on are just, he doesn't play on shit records, just quite simply. I highly recommend this record. It's just an absolutely amazing spiritual jazz record, with electric violin as a lead instrument, as opposed to obviously the usual sax or trumpet or piano. I obviously can't get past the great Pharoah Sanders, as he's also known, and what record illustrates the power of Pharoah more than Karma? There isn't. This is just his ultimate statement. It's his own version of Love Supreme. Basically, it's just one of the most, far out records that you ever get the chance to listen to. And this is really a testimony to the pressing on impulse. You can buy an impulse that looks beat up to shit, and actually, if you clean it, it plays really well. And this is great about the early impulses, that they're actually really well pressed. It's just incredible quality, and the quality of everything, the packaging, everything is just so amazing. But anyway, coming back to the great Karma, Pharoah Sanders, Leon Thomas, Richard Davis on bass, James Spaulding on flute, Lonnie Liston Smith, Billy Hart on drums. I mean, a lineup, great lineup, absolutely amazing record. I hope you have heard this. It's stunning. All right, now a CD. Can't have everything on vinyl. The freaked out world of Albert Ayler, avant-garde, free jazz genius, live in Greenwich Village, complete impulse recordings. Something that you can't really listen to on a daily basis, but it's essential in a jazz collection, in my opinion. So you've got the first disc, which is the one that you can buy on vinyl, starting with Holy Ghost, you know, classic free jazz. And then this too is some sort of extra tracks that we're recording on the same session. Right, okay, got to talk about Archie Shepp. And love this record, Attica Blues. Now we're more into the realm of soul jazz rather than anything else now. This is a fantastic album. It is a really groovy sort of crossover between soul jazz, free jazz, black liberation. Just, yeah, it's spiritual in its approach rather than its musical content. And an absolute cast of thousands, including Clifford Thornton, Marion Brown, Clarence White, James Ware, Leroy Jenkins, Al Shankar. I mean, the lineup is just, it's, you know, obviously Archie Shepp plays the sax, which a great record. Another stunner is this fantastic Max Roach percussion, bittersweet. Another smoker record. Max Roach is a drummer, and on this he's the band leader. I mean, a lot of solo Max Roach records are quite incredible, and this is no exception. Musicians are Abbey Lincoln, Eric Dolphy, Clifford Jordan, Mal Waldron. I mean, Max Roach. I mean, if that doesn't sell it to you, I mean, what will, really? It's stunning. Sort of, you know, kind of a really groovy, dynamic mix between post-bop and avant-garde jazz. Just really amazing record. Right, a couple more. This is again an essential. My copy here is not an Impulse press. It's a Superior Viaduct because I didn't want to cheat. I brought out my my actual official Impulse version of it, so that I was legit here. The Black Saint and the Sinner Lady is a milestone, not just for Impulse, a milestone for jazz in general and for music. I don't really know what to say to just, you know, do it justice. Apart from the fact that if you can get a Mingus record and make it this one, and the opening track is just one of the best pieces of music that I can think of. Solo Dancer. The tuba on it is so, you feel it in your body, you know, it's just so, it's genius. And if you don't know Mingus, a great bass player, you need to check him out. But I'm sure you know. 1963 on Impulse. Finally, a little sort of oddity, something that maybe wouldn't have made everybody's list, but a record that I really dig. Played this morning actually when I got up. Latin America, Chapter 1, Gato Barbieri, the great Argentinian sax player. This is an absolutely fantastic sort of, yeah, it's got a distinct Latin flavor. Latin meets spiritual jazz, and I think it's an excellent record. I would highly recommend this as much as some of these other titles. It's an excellent record. Yeah, nothing to really say more about this. 1973 Impulse Records. So I hope you enjoyed this sort of roundup of the Impulse label. If you don't agree with me, feel free to leave some comments or, goodness, make a video response. You never know. And you know, interact, people. Love you all.